Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome to another installment in the Jomwa Save series. The series where I compare a Swiss luxury watch to an affordable alternative and tell you how much you can save by not buying the Swiss luxury watch. Today though, it's a little bit different because the affordable alternative is a Swiss luxury watch. This is a review of the Mido Multifort TV Big Date. Now you saw the pop-up? This watch was sent to me for review by Mido Australia. I will therefore of course leave a link to their website in the description of the video. Now I specifically asked for this colour version, which is brand new this year by the way, because I thought there was a bit of a whiff of Patek Philippe Aquanaut about it, but for a fraction of the cost, and I do mean a fraction. The Mido costs just under 2,000 Australian dollars RRP. The Patek Philippe costs just under 76,000 Australian dollars RRP, and good luck buying one at retail. The cheapest price I could find on Chrono24 for a brand new unworn 5167R is 112,000 Australian dollars. The world has indeed gone mad. But you don't have to, because the Mido is really nice. Plus, it's far from a one-to-one copy. Mido have been making TV case watches for 50 years, and indeed they launched the TV Big Date last year to celebrate that anniversary. Now, it's not perfect. I am of course going to have a couple of moans later on, as always, but this watch has been a real surprise, and it's been a watch that I have struggled to take off since it arrived in Sydney a couple of weeks ago. So why am I enjoying the Multifort so much? What is it about the watch that appeals? Well, it looks a damn sight more expensive than it actually is. You get a flash of that chocolate brown dial sometimes, and it really just jumps out at you, and it looks so rich. Plus, I've found the fitted rubber strap incredibly comfortable. I'm normally a bracelet guy, but a sports watch like this on a rubber strap actually makes a great option. But I digress. Let's take it back a couple of notches and have a look at the packaging. Mido are part of the Swatch Group. They sit in that bracket alongside Longines and Rado, so you'd expect some decent packaging, and you get it. You also get a 2-year warranty, but no instruction manual, which I personally find quite refreshing because most of the time they are completely unnecessary. Dimensions. Now, these are always important, but having said that, don't put too much stock in the raw numbers today, because square cases always wear a little bit differently to how the dimensions suggest they would. The Multifort is 40mm across the middle, not including the crown or the crown guards. Thickness is 11.7, which is very nice. Lug to lug 46.8. Also very nice. But the lug width is 22. Now, that would normally be a slightly odd for a 40mm watch, but it makes perfect sense because of the case shape. And the Multifort does rather wear big visually anyway, far bigger than a circular 40 at least. It kind of looks like you're wearing a 42. Anyway, weight as supplied on the fitted rubber is 111 grams. Crystal is flat sapphire with double-sided anti-reflection treatment. We have 100 meters of water resistance from a screw-down crown, and the movement is the Caliber 80 Big Date. This is effectively a premium version of the Powermatic 80 found in Tissot, Certina and other Swatch Group products. It features a Nivacron balance spring, 25 joules, it hacks, it hand winds, the decorated rotor winds in both directions, and oddly enough it has an 80-hour power reserve. This one has been running now for 2 weeks continuously, so it's nicely bedded in, and it's running beautifully as you can see. Do note though the 21.6 beat rate. That power reserve is achieved, at least in part, by slowing the movement down. Alright, let's have a look at the case. Now, this one is rose gold PVD coated. Some of the photos, some of the press shots you'll see, it looks like yellow gold, but no, it is definitely not yellow gold, it is definitely rose gold. I think the rose gold plays perfectly off of both the chocolate coloured strap and the chocolate coloured dial. You can see a fine satin horizontal brushing to the mid case and a vertical brush to the upper lug surfaces. You can also see this little high polish chamfer for comfort on the bottom edge of the case. The case back, as you just saw, is also all high polished. Now the sides of the fixed bezel are also high polished, but the upper surface has a pronounced vertical brush to it, far more pronounced than the satin brushing on the sides of the case. You can also see a circular recess in the bezel at the 12 and a couple of little notches either side of the 12 and the 6. More on those later. The crown is almost completely guarded, the guards have the same satin brush finish as the mid-case, but the 7mm crown is high polish. It does offer plenty of grip though when you need it. And there you go, just a little flash of the dial with those horizontal stripes coming and going depending on angle. It's a really nice effect. And it's a really nice fitted rubber strap. Like I said, bracelet for me is number 1, but fitted rubber is definitely number 2, and this is a good one. It appears to be FKM style rubber, so there's no fluff or dust. It tapers from 22 to just under 19 at the clasp. There are 4 little rounded rectangles on either side to break it up a bit visually. There are plenty of holes for the majority of humans, and it's got nicely matching PVD rose gold coated hardware with the Mido logo. And it's quick release as well, by the way. It's great to see big brands finally coming to that particular party. Alright, dial and hands, you've had a couple of flashes so far, but let's now have a proper look. It's a sandwich dial, so the wedge-shaped indices at 3, 6 and 9 are recessed, as are the circular markers everywhere else, and of course, the big date complication at the 12. And I must say, I really like the big date. I ran a tag F1 with a big date as my daily for 5 years, but it just isn't a complication you see very often. As I hope you can see here, the watch has 2 separate date discs at slightly different levels that rotate in opposite directions when the time comes to change. It's a really nice effect, and it is so much easier to read than a regular date without the need for one of those warty cyclopses. The Mido brand name and automatic form part of the dial moulding, as does the model name Multifort and Swiss made down there at the 6. The whole dial, as noted, has those very small horizontal stripes that really bring it to life when you move it around. There's also an angled rehaut with minute markers and Arabics on the 15s. Handset, very simple tapering batons, also in high polish rose gold with a bevel down the middle, and it is a super simple, super slender needle second hand with no lume. I really like this colour combo personally, but if you don't fancy chocolate and rose gold, the watch is also available with a grey dial, a blue dial or a green dial instead. On wrist, I've said it a few times, it wears really very nicely. It has plenty of presence, at least in part thanks to this particular colour combination, plus at 110 grams there's still a bit of chunk to it even though the watch is on rubber rather than on bracelet. Now I have been cycling through 3 different holes actually on the strap, tight, medium and overnight, but there's still plenty either side, so maybe from 6¼ inch wrist up to about 8¼ inch wrist on the standard strap without any difficulty. And it's actually surprisingly legible, mostly because those hands are high polish. They really do catch the light readily. So a lot of positives then. I have been very much enjoying this watch, but that's not to say I haven't found a few things I don't enjoy as much. My moans and niggles. You haven't seen the Lume yet, and that's a sure sign that the Lume isn't very good. The Multifort is an attractive, original left field sports watch, but the poor Lume is therefore definitely a bit of a buzzkill. As soon as you turn the lights off, you can see what's going to happen. The hands look rough. They're just not as well lumed as the dial. You know they're not going to last as long as the dial, and indeed when I turn the speed up on this one, guess what? The hands don't last as long as the indices on the dial. It's such an easy fix though if they just put a bit more lume into the handset. And there are a couple of those visual features that I pointed out on the bezel that I'm not necessarily sure the watch needed. The ghost lume pip at 12 in the bezel for a start, and those little ridges at the top and the bottom. I guess they do break it up a touch, but the watch would have undoubtedly looked quite a bit cleaner without them. Now, as discussed, I'm glad I went for this rose gold brown combo. I think it's a kind of killer combo, but my hand was in some ways rather forced because they don't do a black dial stainless steel case version on the rubber strap at the moment. I think this watch really suits the rubber strap, but if you want that kind of sensible dark dial, you're forced to pick it on an anything but sensible bright orange strap. Now, that would be okay for the weekends, I reckon, but I don't think even I could rock an orange rubber strap as a daily. Again, so simple for them to add a dark strap to that dark dial. And then there are the 2 age-old problems with this style of watch. It's a rose gold coating. it's not rose gold. So first of all, you're going to have to be okay with that psychologically. It looks like a precious metal, but at the end of the day, it's not gold, it's just coated 316L stainless steel. I guess if the watch was actually made of rose gold, it would cost 20 grand rather than 2 grand. It looks nice, but it doesn't look like gold. And the second problem is, if you treat it roughly, the coating will eventually scratch off, exposing that 316L stainless steel underneath. But overall, I like this watch far more than I thought I would. It's surprisingly legible. I like the big date complication. It really is something that you don't see all that often, but perhaps you should see more. And it's so comfortable to wear 24/7 on this rubber strap. Now, I have been talking Australian dollars so far, but I did have a look at US pricing on these. Shop around, you can pick one up for under $1,000. Definitely not an obvious choice then, definitely a left fielder, but perhaps a watch from a brand that perhaps deserve a little bit more credit than perhaps I have given them in the past. So there you have it. Well done for making it all the way to the end of the video. This is only the third Mido that I have reviewed. While you're here, why not check out the other two? Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you again in the next one.